What would make a teenage boy risk his life by hiding inside the freezing wheel compartment of a massive airplane, flying 38,000 feet above the earth? This is the true story of Yahya Abdi, a 15-year-old boy who did the impossible, surviving a 6-hour flight from California to Hawaii, trapped in the plane's wheel well, with no oxygen, no heat, and no chance to survive. But somehow, he did. And the reason why he did it is even more heartbreaking than the miracle itself. Yahya grew up in Santa Clara, California. To everyone around him, he was a quiet, polite boy who rarely caused trouble. But behind that silence was a storm, one fueled by loss, loneliness, and a desperate dream. Years earlier, Yahya's family had fled war-torn Somalia. They came to America searching for peace, but it wasn't easy. His parents divorced, his mother remained trapped in a refugee camp in Africa, and Yahya hadn't seen her in years. Every night, he stared at her photo, promising himself that one day, he'd find a way to see her again. It was April 20th, 2014. Yahya had argued with his father that morning. His father told him to forget about going back to Africa. But Yahya couldn't. That night, he left home with only a thin jacket, sneakers, and a small backpack. He walked miles to the San Jose International Airport, sneaking past fences and security under the cover of darkness. His plan was insane: to climb into a plane heading toward Hawaii, and from there, somehow find a flight to Africa. He didn't know how planes worked. He didn't know that the wheel well, the space between the wheels and the plane, wasn't built for humans. He only knew one thing: he had to see his mother again. As dawn approached, Yahya watched a Boeing 767 on the runway, preparing for takeoff. He crawled beneath the aircraft and hid inside the landing gear compartment. It was cramped, oily, and dark. The metal beneath him trembled. Moments later, the engines roared to life. The massive wheels began to turn. The noise was deafening. Then, the plane lifted off the ground. Within minutes, the temperature began to drop. Then it dropped again. At 38,000 feet, the air was thin, oxygen levels near zero. Temperatures fell below -60 degrees Celsius, -76 degrees Fahrenheit. Yahya passed out within minutes, frozen, weightless, and lifeless looking. No one could survive that. But somehow, he did. For 5.5 hours, Yahya's unconscious body was tossed inside that freezing compartment, heart barely beating, brain starved of oxygen. When the plane landed in Maui, Hawaii, ground staff were stunned to see a boy drop out of the landing gear and collapse on the tarmac, alive. Airport surveillance cameras caught the moment he fell out, dazed, stumbling, barefoot. He had frostbite, low body temperature, and was severely dehydrated, but somehow, his heart kept beating. Doctors later said his body had gone into a state of suspended animation, like hibernation, slowing down enough to survive the cold and lack of air. It wasn't luck. It was something no science could fully explain. Yahya was rushed to the hospital. When he woke up, he didn't even remember boarding the plane. The world called him the miracle boy. But Yahya didn't care about fame, he just wanted to see his mother. Authorities investigated how he bypassed airport security. His survival stunned aviation experts and forced airports across America to re-examine their safety measures. But the boy behind the headlines wasn't a criminal, he was a child looking for love. When interviewed, Yahya quietly said, "I just wanted to go home, to my mom." Those few words broke hearts around the world. He hadn't tried to be brave or foolish. He was just desperate to feel the warmth of a mother's hug again, something he hadn't known since escaping Somalia. Even though authorities eventually reunited him with his father, the world never forgot the young boy who challenged death itself, all for the love of a parent. Years later, Yahya's story became a symbol of human endurance and the power of love. Every aviation expert who reviewed his case said the same thing. He shouldn't have survived. It's a miracle. But maybe it wasn't just science. Maybe it was something greater, a mother's unseen prayer traveling across oceans, keeping her child alive. Sometimes, love defies logic. Sometimes, faith wins where science gives up. Yahya's story isn't just about survival, it's about the lengths the human heart will go to, for the people it loves most. What would you risk, for someone you love? Tell me in the comments.